Hey folks, it's Leah from Tubby Tabby Soaps here with a video that we've gotten tons of requests for, which is soap making hacks. If you work with or own a business where you're making soap, hacks like these can save you a ton of time and headache. So we've put together 6 hacks and tips to help out beginners and maybe even more advanced soap makers too. The first hack we're going to share with you today is something that makes our lives so much easier: master batching our oils. If you make a different recipe of soap every time, it's pretty time consuming. Experimenting until you're happy and then settling on one core recipe will make your soap making so much quicker and easier. Of course, adding things is always possible. So for example, we make everything from charcoal facial soap to peach fuzz soap with pumice in it to our oatmeal milk and honey soap with 3 different milk powders and powdered oatmeal. But all of these recipes have something in common, which is the base oils that we use. Our standard batch of soap is about 1.4 kilograms, so we make up a big bucket of 10 kilograms of oil. That way, each time we make soap, we just pour out however much oil we need and we're ready to go. No need to measure each different oil. This is especially helpful with hard oils that need to be melted, which can be really time consuming. And a bonus tip, if you use palm oil in your soap recipe, palm oil actually settles. This means that the chemical makeup of the oil at the top of the bin might be different than the oil at the bottom of the bin, and that can affect your soap. If you use palm oil, melt the whole bin of oil and make a large master batch to work with. This way you don't have to remelt your whole bin of palm oil every time you make soap. The second hack we want to share will help beginner soap makers save a lot of money. If you watch videos on YouTube like ours, you've seen us use wooden molds to make our soap, as well as silicone loaf molds. These are great molds and we love ours, but they're not cheap. New soapers are sometimes discouraged by the cost of investing in equipment, but there are a ton of free molds probably sitting around your house. Anything with stiff sides, preferably a rectangle or square, can be used as a mold. If you want your soap to look absolutely perfect because you're looking to sell it, maybe buying a mold is best. But if you're okay with the handmade look, or it's just for personal use anyway, you can use anything from a milk carton to a loaf pan to mold your soap. Some folks also use larger cardboard boxes or even old wooden drawers that were destined for the landfill. Lots of folks also use Pringles cans or bits of PVC pipe to make round bars of soap like shaving soap. Truly, the options are only limited by your imagination. It's just important to remember that once you use something to put soap in, it's safest not to use that item for food preparation. So don't use your best loaf pan that you love making banana bread in. Now that you have your mold chosen, the third hack we want to share with you today is about unmolding your soap from the mold easily. If you decide to use a cardboard box, for example, the soap could stick to it really badly. Some folks get silicone liners made for their soap molds, which is super great and they work amazingly. The only thing is that they're quite expensive. So if you can't afford to do that, here's a really inexpensive option. Take freezer paper, which is also sometimes called butcher paper, and use it to line your mold. We put together a whole video tutorial on how to do this with any size of rectangular mold. You can click the eye above to check it out now and learn how to line your molds. If you can't find freezer paper, some folks also use parchment paper, which can be found in most grocery stores. It's a bit harder to stick in place with tape, so try using a binder clip or thumbtack to hold it in place instead. If you've been around this channel for a while, you know that we love layered soap. So our fourth hack today will help with making sure your soap doesn't pierce the layer below it. When we're making a layered soap, such as our ever popular rainbow soap, there's a trick we use to make sure that the first layer is set up before we pour the second on it, and so on. Of course, if your soap is super thick, it won't be a flat layer. But if your soap is too thin, this trick won't even help. So mix your first layer until it looks like a slightly thin pudding, basically a medium trace. Pour your first layer and thump it down to help flatten the layer out. Immediately spritz it with rubbing alcohol. We use 99% rubbing alcohol, which is easy to find online, and some pharmacies might carry it as well. Something about the rubbing alcohol seems to seal the top of the soap in a way that simply waiting doesn't. Basically, this seems to speed up the soap setting process. Once you've spritzed the soap, go ahead and take a couple of minutes to get your next layer ready to pour. When you're ready to pour, spritz the first layer again with rubbing alcohol to help the next layer stick well. Be gentle pouring your second layer and do get as close to the first layer as possible, but it should be pretty set up by now without waiting too long at all. We used this technique in our single rainbow reboot video, so you can see how we did it in detail if you click the eye above. And you'll also see what happens when we forget to spritz. Spoiler alert, that layer didn't turn out the best. Our fifth hack today relates to fragrance. If you've tried using essential oils in your soaps, you know that the scent can fade very quickly. There's a trick you can use to help the scent stick longer. Before you mix your essential oils into your soap, mix them into some clay. The clay absorbs the essential oils and helps to anchor the scent in the soap. We use this technique in our lemon lavender soap, and you can click the eye above to see exactly what it looks like. And last but not least, this hack will make your colors brighter, especially if you're using natural or botanical colorants. We're not sure why this is the case, but gelling your soap makes the colors so much brighter. If you're using something like alkanet root to color your soap, like in our lemon lavender soap, you're going to get a really faint color if you don't gel your soap. Gelling is what happens when the chemical reaction between the soap making oils and lye produces a lot of heat. This is easiest to achieve in a wooden mold because the wood seems to naturally insulate the soap, but if your soap mold doesn't have a lid, it's less likely to gel. You can do something called forcing gel by making the soap warm and encouraging the chemical reaction. What we do is put our newly made soap into the oven with the oven light on, but no heat on in the oven. The insulation in the oven does a great job of keeping the warmth from the oven light inside the oven, and it lets us force gel without overheating the soap. You can see what gelled indigo powder looks like if you click the eye above. We gelled our Haven't the Foggiest soap with natural indigo in it, and it helped the color turn even darker. So these have been 6 soap making hacks that will make your life so much easier. We hope that at least some of these hacks will help you out the next time you make soap. Be sure to let us know in the comments which of these hacks you think you'll try, or if you're already using some, let us know which ones. If you learned something today, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Until next time, thanks for watching and happy soaping.